Hello, viewers of the YouTube and the channel. I am Sam,
I'm Ree.
and we're back here for another monthly one-shot. Originally, we were going to do a new little game that came out not long ago called Days and Gone, weren't we?
We were,
But
almost.
we're too poor to be able to buy that game at the moment. So we thought we'll do a retro one, because a lot of people want us to do some... I say a lot of people, probably about 2 people want us to do some retro stuff.
Two's more than one.
Yeah, that's and one's more than none. So
It's a
yeah,
fact.
it's people. So we thought we'll do a monthly one shot on a retro game, which is about 21 years old now, 22 years old. Either way, it is possibly my favourite game of all time. And that is Final Fantasy VII. So I know this game very well. Ree, how well do you know this game?
Not too well. My brother loved it, and it was the first game I owned on PS1 actually.
So you say it's the first game you owned, and your brother loves it. Did your brother just steal it and play it instead?
Yeah, of course, and I watched.
Fair
I was
enough.
I was probably too young to play.
I think when I started it, I would have been maybe about 13 or so. Probably
Yeah.
not too young to play it. There were some parts of it. It was my first ever RPG I played, so I had no idea. Before this, the only kind of games I really played were things like Crash Bandicoot, or like, Mario and Sonic. Simple
Yeah.
platformers. And then this was just... It's nothing like that. There's a lot
Crash, yeah, Crash was my bread and
of...
butter.
Yeah,
my,
I mean, this
my
was like...
jam donut. My,
Your
Yeah.
bread and butter jam donut. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to taste whatever that is. But yeah, so like this, along with Metal Gear Solid as well, also one of my favourite games ever. I can't remember which one I played first. I'm pretty sure it was Final Fantasy VII. It was my first kind of real showing me like what stories can be like in a
Yeah.
game. Obviously, all the talking is all like text and everything, so it's like you really... Oh, I'm going to cough. Apologies. So you can really get drawn into the story of what's going on, and it's just like... I remember playing it, it was on 3 discs, and at the start of the game, you're blowing up a reactor, of which there's, I think, 7 reactors. And I thought the game was just going to be just blowing them all up. That's the game, you have to go and blow up
Yeah.
these reactors. And then it's like, no, that is just... You do that twice in the game,
Yeah,
within
yeah.
the first hour, maybe. And there's about 90 odd other hours after that
yeah,
to
yeah.
fill. So it was insane. The version we're talking about here, or we've got footage from, is the PS4 version, which was kind of ported from the Steam version, and I now know has recently come to Switch and Xbox One.
This is the PS4 version.
This is it's not the remake. It's definitely not
No.
the remake, but this is the PS4 version, which slight little bit graphics. It's not as pixelated, and obviously it's kind of HD compared to what the PS1 version was. There's better kind of translation in English.
Okay, yeah.
There's a few added, like, I would say, cheats where you can kind of have no battle encounters apart from boss fights, it's ones where you can have just max health all the time and it will just fill up again every time you get hit. And then 3 times game speed as well, which is quite interesting. Good for speedrunners, which I know we talk a lot about speedrunning, but
Yeah.
only in passing.
Only because we are speedrunners, and if you
Yeah,
watch our
we're,
Yoshi
we're just
Yoshi
we're
videos,
speedrunners who like to take our time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're just not perfect. That's
No,
all.
I mean, we try to be, but we obviously fail. But, yeah, so I absolutely love this game, and I know there's a lot of people who also love it, and I know there's a lot of people and other Final Fantasy fans who really, really hate it.
Really?
Yeah, well, they
I
either
thought
hate
this-
it, or they think it's, like, overrated, or they think it's not the best Final Fantasy VII. Of the Final Fantasies I've played, it's my favourite. 6, which
I
a lot
thought
of people say is better.
Yeah, I thought it was the favorite. I thought it was everyone's like first.
It was
favourite,
kind of it
and-
was kind of the one that more people know of, because it's of the first 6, I think only 3 of them were released outside of Japan to America, and I think of only those 3, one of them was in the UK.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the first like worldwide one. It was also the first 3D one, and it jumped from Nintendo and the NES and SNES to PlayStation because of the discs.
Yeah.
Because if they released it on the N64, it will probably be about 36 cartridges that you
Really?
need to play with. And obviously on PlayStation it was 3 discs, so it was able to do a lot more they could do with it. But yeah,
that.
so some people really just they think it's overrated. They don't think it's aged well. They say it graphically doesn't look well. Whereas to me, the PS4 version, I mean, I still like the look of it. I still love the aesthetic. I love like the music. It was on my music list. I absolutely adore the music.
Definitely. Well, it's a bit harsh to say it didn't age well, considering it's 21 years old. But
yeah, I mean, there's the whole argument that the classic like pixel SNES games age well because everyone loves pixel art these days, and you know, it's kind of like the old version of what did we say Borderlands was? Like Borderlands, that kind of cartoony style.
Cell shaded.
Yeah, so like the old pixel art of like Final Fantasy VI
like
and Mario, they still stand the test of time, whereas this, polygons, a lot of polygon games like the original Resident Evils and Metal Gear. I think Metal Gear Solid looks worse than Final Fantasy VII does at the moment, to be fair. I think Final Fantasy VII holds up graphically a bit better than Metal Gear does.
Yeah.
Probably because the backgrounds are all drawn. So the only 3D is the kind of sprites in a way.
It is what it is.
It's an old game. I still think because if you look at Final Fantasy VIII after this, they went for more detailed, realistic-looking characters compared to obviously these Lego-looking motherfuckers, and I think the Final Fantasy VIII look has aged even worse than this because of that realistic kind of style they've gone for.
Because they've tried too much, whereas this has kept it simple. And
it's also, I mean, you look at the old Final Fantasies when it was all 2D. The characters were all kind of a bit deformed as well, so it's kind of still kept a little bit of that deformity within the character styles, but they've been able to make everyone look a lot more different and unique than they could back then on the 16-bit consoles.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people say it's like you think it's probably aged not that well. I still really love the look of it.
It probably has aged well. I'm sure between the year it came out and 2000s it was fine. 2005 probably then it started slow. It's only now you're thinking like, well, I say no, maybe the past, since PS3 maybe.
Yeah, I suppose once probably even PS2, because
I was going to say, if you play any PS3 game now, they haven't aged well. Not a single one, I don't think.
Even say the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, like the first one of that, which is on PS4,
has not.
It looks like it shouldn't be a PS. But the weird thing is, if you look at Uncharted 1 compared to The Last of Us, both of which came out on the PS3, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you could say the same from Final Fantasy VII to Final Fantasy IX, which both came on the same console.
True.
There was a change from that. If you look at if you look at something like Bubsy 3D that came out on the PlayStation, and then you look at something like Crash Bandicoot 3 that came out on the PlayStation, it's insane.
True.
And none of these games we're talking about are Final Fantasy, of course.
No.
Despite this. I mean, it's a kind of a retro thing, so if we're talking about this game from that age, we kind of have to go to that age.
Yeah.
I will eventually stop coughing one of these days. But yeah, this game made a huge impact on me. I dabbled with playing games in my younger childhood. Never quite much. I was fan, but never huge into it. But I think this was the game that really got me into it. Before, I would play a game for like an hour or two and just have some fun every so often. I would be there for like hours upon hours upon hours. This game really set me on my path to being YouTube gaming person. Not megastar or superstar, just a person.
Just a person. This is where it all started.
I would say this is where it started. I'm pretty sure this came before Metal Gear in terms of what I played. I can't remember release dates. I think this did come before Metal Gear, but that was the second one that also solidified me on that path as well. And I would like to maybe cover that at some point. I know I did start streaming it on another channel website, but
platform.
I haven't got back to that yet. Maybe one day.
Rhymes with bitch.
Yes. That stole from one of our comments. How dare you?
Was it?
Good old. Yeah, OJ the Viking. He left a comment saying that one. But he said the same words. Well, going back to like if you look at the difference between games, I don't know. Well, you probably don't know Final Fantasy 1 or 6 or anything. But if you look at Final Fantasy 1 to 6, which changed from NES to SNES, there was a big difference there.
Yeah.
From 6 to 7, which is only one game, there was a huge difference. But if you look at this compared to Final Fantasy X on the PS2,
7 come out on PS1.
7
afterwards?
was PS1.
Didn't it come out after? No, not 7. 6. Sorry. Didn't 6 come out?
They
PS1
did release. Yeah,
after...
I do have Final Fantasy VI on
Yeah,
PS1. They did like re-release the classic once like Final Fantasy kind of started blowing up. They decided to re-release the games that people wouldn't have played because they weren't available in the country or anything like that. So it was, and they added some kind of CG cutscene at the start of the game and at the end of the game, but most of it was the same. I think the major difference was it was slower than the N64 version because it's on disc, so it had to load up battles, whereas on the SNES it just kind of instantly went in. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, like the jump from 7 to say 10 on the PS2, it's fully 3D backgrounds, fully voiced acting with the good old ha 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 ha.
I'm gonna have to.
Everyone always knows.
Just Google number 10 quickly so I can find my bearings.
Yeah, that's no problem. And on PS2, so PS3 they had 3 Final Fantasies, 7, 8, 9. On PS2 they had 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah, I remember 10. They had that weird sport thing.
Blitzball.
Blitzball.
It's not weird. It's awesome. But and then if you look now, the most recent Final Fantasy numbers, 15. It's funny I say about 15, 10, and 7 because they're like my 3 favourite Final Fantasies. 7's top, 10's probably second, and 15's probably third. But if you compare 15 to this, it's insane.
Well, yeah.
It is. It's just. Well, it's so weird. And
when did 15 come out?
15 came out about 3 years ago, I would like to say, which is now getting on a bit. Which is weird that that's 3 years old. This game's 22, maybe 23 years if you, because it came out in Japan a bit of a while before.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how like old games are and how old we are.
Did this game? Because I had no kind of grasp on anything when this came out.
Yeah, he was about 2.
No, I was older than that, but I'm not looking at game sales and I'm not thinking about the world and money and stuff. Did this blow up?
Yeah,
it did.
Yeah,
it did well. It like
Square put in a lot of money that were like film style trailers for the game, which was one of the first kind of video games to have trailers come out in a kind of almost filmic way with a voiceover being like, coming this summer kind of like thing, and it's like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
and it's like so they spent a lot of money on it, and it did go huge. My first interaction with the game was way back when, and I won't get into too much because it's a lot of personal kind of stuff there. But my mum's boyfriend at the time got the game when it came out and started playing it. I know he didn't like it because he took it back to the store the other day and swapped it for something else, so he didn't get into it. But I saw him play it for a little bit, and I was kind of intrigued. So about half a year later, I eventually rented it from a good old video game movie rental place back when they used to exist.
You could do that, yeah.
And I would rent it like every like weekend. I would just rent the game, get further and further. Not knowing how to do a RPG, I ran through a lot of battles from a lot of battles, so I was so underpowered. I somehow still got fairly far-ish on the first disc until I got to a point where the game wouldn't load anything anymore. I was kind of stuck in this area where all I could do was run around and do nothing because there was a scratch on the disc.
Yeah.
And I would still rent this game every week. There was no internet really to use to try and see what I can do to get past it, and I just couldn't, so I could never play past it at that point. But I eventually, I think either birthday or Christmas, got some money and bought the game myself brand new.
Yeah.
And I got past that part because I had the game saved.
Yeah.
I had the memory card saved, it was definitely that disc. But it's so weird because I probably could have bought the game with the amount of money I wasted renting it, even though I still couldn't get past that part. I think I even went back a few saves. I can't remember because I don't think I had multi-saves because, again, I had no idea how to play this kind of game.
Yeah.
I was just so drawn into it and just doing my best. But there was a few times where I kept on trying to get a certain point. I get to a certain boss, and I just couldn't get past them, so I kind of almost restarted again and got a bit further, and then I couldn't get further.
Why are you running? Is there a glitch?
Because I originally captured this footage for the It's funny actually. We had that because I was mentioned how I ran from battles. That's just me running
Oh, right,
from a
yeah.
battle. You
Yeah.
hold the shoulders, you run away, and you keep it holding until you run away from the
Yeah,
battle. Because I captured this footage for the last gaming list we did, or I did.
Yeah.
The top 5 music, of which this is on there, so go and check it out. Link is in the description. Yeah, I caught the footage for that, and I didn't want to spend too long catching the footage, so I just ran past all these battles. Yeah, so this is like the first part of the game. Again, I thought this was pretty much going to be the game. Oh, we're destroying these reactors because this company is destroying the planet. And
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of... If you look back at it, which I think I replayed it last year to get the Platinum Trophy. So while I was playing it, I was thinking it, and I was like, this game is like very ecological, like talking about saving the planet and how like certain things are destroying the planet and stuff. I know a lot in our time now, a lot of things cover about that and spread that message and all, which is a good enough message to do. But back then, I don't know how many things were. So if you think about it, this 22-year-old game was having this ecological message in it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice when I was younger. I notice now that I'm older. And it's when I was replaying it, I was like, huh.
Some people were thinking about that.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, that was a thing that was still there. Maybe it was because I was younger then, so I didn't notice it as much.
Yeah.
But it's weird to find out that this huge game has that message in there. And anytime I've seen people talk about it or review the game, I've not really heard them mention that kind of thing. So I thought I should bring it up because not many people seem to cover the kind of the ecological like message it's got in there.
Cutscene.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. Yeah, the good old CG cutscenes. Another reason they wanted to go with obviously CD, so they can throw those in there as well, which are really good. I think. They was some of the big. I think on the back of the box they says, "Oh, this game's got like 30 minutes of CG cutscenes." It was like a big sentence. It's like now it's like, what is it? You play something like Heavy Rain. That's the whole game.
All
just
cutscenes.
CG
Yeah. Every game
cutscene.
is just a cutscene. You're never actually playing games anymore.
I know it's true. I mean, to be fair, I think Metal Gear has it beat with about 6 hours of cutscene. But
that's where it all started.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of themes in this game. There's identity and stuff like that. I could go into more, but it's a long game and there is a lot in it. There's chocobo breeding. There's a theme park you can go
chocobos,
to. Good old chocobos. Yeah, my first Final Fantasy, so my first introduction to chocobos and Mogs, which are staples of the series. Biggs and Wedge as well, 2 characters that have been in most Final Fantasies, which I didn't know that there were always those named characters in Final Fantasies, but because I'm a Star Wars fan, I was like, oh, Biggs and Wedge, they're Star Wars characters' names, which is where they actually took them from.
Oh, okay.
I think they started in like Final Fantasy 3, maybe. My knowledge on the early Final Fantasies is quite slim, as the only one before this I played was 6 and maybe 1 a long time ago. And 1 doesn't have a huge amount of story in a weird way, but so my early Final Fantasy knowledge is a bit weak.
Do you know what's really funny? Is
videos of cats.
Yeah, they're funny. Yeah, videos of cats are always funny. But how cool I thought Cloud was when I was a kid.
Oh, mate, he's still cool.
Yeah, I know, but if you look at him,
the weird hair,
the weird hands, the weird animation, like
the Lego-looking motherfucker with the spiky hair.
Can you imagine you're walking down the street and that comes at you?
You wouldn't think that's cool. You'd probably scream and run in the wrong direction or the opposite direction.
Generally, I thought he was the coolest person. I wanted to change my name to Cloud and just.
His name Cloud was like, it sounded cool.
Yeah,
he looked cool, like the spiky hair.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, when I was younger as a boy, the thing of like Bart Simpson with his spiky hair.
Yeah.
To me, as a boy, I liked the spiky hair. Did you ever have that as a kid? Or...
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah.
Like these days, it's not. It's all about weird kind of like undercuts and stuff for kids and those things. Whereas back in my day, it was like spiky hair with loads of gel.
Spiky.
Because 90s. So seeing a character with the spikiest hair in the world ever was just like, oh my god, who's the coolest? And the sword, the Buster Sword. You mentioned how cool he was. You can't say that without mentioning the Buster Sword.
It's because of the sword, yeah.
The biggest sword I had ever seen, ever. I was like, that just can't be real. And no, swords like that cannot be real. It's just not possible. I mean, people have made them, but like, there's no way you can wield it.
Yeah. It's not.
Like, I mean, if you can get it above your head and kind of just let your arms drop down, it might work.
Do
But
some damage, but
it's insane.
that's if you
like,
get it above your head. Oh, so cool.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's the thing, is not only does he look cool and has the cool sword and the cool hair, he just acts cool as well. He's just like nonchalant about everything, just like, yeah, I'm just in it for the money, man. I'm badass, I'm soldier, you know, class 1, I can't remember, or the top class soldier. He's like, yeah, I'm badass, I'm awesome, I got a big sword, man, what are you gonna do? Fuck you. But, my green eyes and shit. Nah, he was cool. Barrett I also liked, but I always named him Mr. T, which has one...
Barrett.
I mean, he is Mr. T. And the good thing is about that is there's a scene later on in the game. If he's named Barrett, when he first meets Aerith, or Ares, it should be Aerith, she'll be like, oh, thank you, Mr. Barrett. And he's like, Mr. Barrett? That don't sound right. Just call me Barrett. But if you name him Mr. T, she goes, thank you, Mr. T. And then he goes, Mr. T? That don't sound right. And I'm like, that's brilliant. It's so good. So, I was like, always thought, I actually Googled once and I saw a comment thread of one other person mention that before, I think on Reddit. And I was like, you did the same as me. You found that just as funny as me. It's like, it's one of my favourite things of just happening just because I named a character a certain way. But obviously, yeah, it's modern day Final Fantasies because they're like all voice acted. You're stuck with their names.
Yeah.
Back in this one, you could name Cloud Cool Spiky Hair Dude. Well, probably not, it's too long, but still, Cool Dude probably worked. Cool dude, we gotta blow up this reactor.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, put him money. So it was brilliant. First time I played, I always like renamed them constantly.
No, I did.
The only ones I rename now are Barrett, because he will always be Mr. T to me, and Red 13. I give him his actual character name, which is Nanaki, which is brilliant because when you go to his hometown, they're like, "Oh, Nanaki," and your party's like, "Who's Nanaki?" And I was like, "That's his what?"
That's what you've named.
So that's another.
That's what you've called him the whole time.
You guys just haven't been paying attention, have you? So yeah, it's any games like Zelda when you can rename Link. It's like you can have so much fun just naming people in a weird
Hello,
way.
traveller. What do I call you? And then,
There's a lot of memes of like people naming Link in Zelda to like weird names that just I think my dude is like the main one.
My dude.
Because when people are like asking him to do things, they're like, "Hey, my dude, can you do this?" It's just like it's brilliant. I don't think it's quite as good as Mr. T, but I can see why a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, anyways, I think we're coming to the end of this little video, so we'll wrap things up. Yeah. I could talk about this game all day. I absolutely adore it.
You looking forward to the
remake? Oh yeah, we haven't really mentioned about the remake. I am, but I'm gonna try and not let myself be disappointed because it's not gonna be what I want.
It won't live up
necessarily. It's not gonna live up to the hype, and if it doesn't, then I've still got this to play. I've got 3 copies of this game. I've got the PS4 one, I've got the disc version on PS1, and I've got the PSN digital for PS3 and Vita and stuff. So it's like I got like 3 versions of the game. I can go back to that. So in that in mind, whatever the new remake's going to be, I'll be happy with. As long as it's not absolutely terrible, I'm fine with it. If it doesn't live up to this game and what it means to me, then it's fine because I've got this game. I think is something people should always take into mind with remakes.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are coming to the end of the video anyway, so we better wrap it up. I just want to mention quickly, before we finish up, we've just recently hit 100 subscribers. Woo! Whoop, whoop. We're very happy with that. It feels like a bit of weight off our shoulders. We're just going to focus on getting some good content out there, so thank you all for getting us up there.
Thank you.
And,
Gracias.
We will catch you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.